My lips feel like jello. Insa everyone, today we are breaking into the new DLC areas that'll be arriving in the House of Wolves, the next DLC for Destiny, which is rumored to be released on March 18th. You will like the visuals of both of these areas, plus watching people glitch out of the map is always fun to see. Sassy was my guide for this adventure. Make sure to follow him on @IamSassy on Twitter, and that is in the description below. We will be visiting two areas from the DLC, King's Watch and Traitor's Ketch. At the end, we will also break into the Dust Palace boss room, an area locked off for Xbox players until September of this year. There is no real dodging the big issue, the big elephant in the room of on-disc DLC, so I'll be giving my thoughts on this practice. One of my favorite parts of Bungie games is the fact that they render so much of the geometry that would normally be inaccessible to players. Back in Halo 2, if you saw a mountain off in the distance and could actually get out of the map, there was a good chance you could actually go and stand on that. Their ceilings and walls and mountains usually have some form of collision detection that keeps you from falling through the floor. There is an entire community of players who focus on breaking Destiny and finding the glitches and map escapes. I've linked some of those channels down below, or in particular one channel. So King's Watch is located on Earth, and as you saw earlier, we did a specific sparrow clip to get through a wall and outside of the normal barriers of the map. From here, we take a very precise route to bypass the door to get the Guardian all the way to King's Watch. This is going to actually be opened up when the DLC releases. To get back at the map, we actually use a gap that's just big enough to let you break back through the roof and into where you need to go. Small hole in the ceiling lets us do this, and then you can push your Guardian into a very tight and precise space while doing some sprint slides to drop back down. I bumped the mic. Off to Traitor's Ketch while I talk about the on-disc DLC. So, touchy subject. You can definitely see that a great deal of the environmental resources are completed for House of Wolves. The same was true with the Dark Below DLC. Players were able to break into the DLC areas prior to release of this as well. It begs the question then, if these areas were so close to completion, why were they not included in the original launch of Destiny? The more nefarious response is that Activision knew that Destiny was going to have a massive launch and therefore made the decision to gate off this content to increase the revenue from their DLC sales. The other likely speculation is that Bungie opted to put this content as DLC to focus on a smooth rollout and launch of the vanilla game instead of potentially releasing more than what they were capable of maintaining and having technical issues or unrefined areas at launch. I won't for a second tell you that I like the model of paying for DLC that has been pre-packaged into the game before launch. Additionally, it would be naive to think that Activision would pass up an opportunity to earn more revenue from you, their customers. To put things in perspective, EA just released their earnings report, and 45.3% of all their digital revenue in 2014 came from extra content, or DLC. Let that sink in for just a moment. Almost half of EA's digital earnings came from DLC. Publishers and studios are learning that DLC is a massive source of continued income from their player base. Destiny has over 3.5 million daily players with over 9 million registered users. I bet you can see Activision's eyes turning into dollar bills as they prepare their swimming pool full of money. So now we move into my own speculation territory. This is not fact, it is my opinion. I'm pretty certain that outside of the raid refinements, both the Dark Below and House of Wolves story content was completed prior to Destiny's release. I also feel like the majority of the assets for each area were completed before Destiny's release last September with the intention to sell to the player later as DLC. I think Activision is the primary motivator behind this and not Bungie. These DLCs act as a substitution for a subscription price model like MMOs would have. If you are a committed Destiny player, I see no alternative to purchasing the DLC if you want to continue that journey. Not being able to participate in the top-end raid or receive the latest raid gear inhibits you from playing with the majority of the hardcore Destiny community. I find Destiny to be a very enjoyable game with friends, albeit content light and repetitive. I still find it to be an absolute blast to raid in Nightfall with a group of fellow Guardians. The way I view the DLC is access to the new raid and new gear. I could honestly care less about the story content because it is just completely lackluster. The story content in Dark Below was barely any better than vanilla Destiny, and I'm just happy to support Destiny because I like the game pure and simple, but I don't believe players are receiving $15 worth of value in the DLCs. Take the Dark Below. I don't think it was worth $15, nor do I think House of Wolves will deliver an outrageous amount of new content. Destiny is an ongoing process. I see an absurd amount of potential with Destiny, and for me, I find it to be a very enjoyable, fun game with friends. But I won't argue with the fact that Activision definitely is milking their customer base for all they are worth. Publishers see how much revenue DLC generates and are strategizing more and more ways to monetize players after the release of their game. My hope is that Destiny Comet that arrives later this year will push Destiny forward in a huge way and will represent a large step in the amount of content players get to with their purchases. If you don't know what Destiny Comet is, check out the link in the description below. We did an entire podcast about it. I'm always curious to hear your thoughts and opinions, so please leave them down below. Be respectful. If you have an issue with Activision and their choice about this on-disc DLC, please refer to Activision and not Bungie or Destiny. Publishers are the backbone. They are the people who make the decisions and the choices that is around the game delivery and the business model. The developers are there to create the actual game. Take that aggression out where it belongs and not on the folks who work very hard to create a fun, good product. You want to be mad at the source and not the wrong folks. At least that's where I stand. Don't really like on-disc DLC. To be honest, I think it is kind of shady and not really a good thing. I think the consumer is not getting everything that they should. But at the same time, I like the fact Destiny launched and it worked when it launched. But this payment model is unique, and I hope it doesn't represent the future, but prepare for some very invasive DLC as we move on into 2015, 2016, 2017 from everyone, not just Activision. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.